Hi, everyone. Just a couple more minutes to start. I see our presenters already in the room. So yeah, we will be starting promptly at 16 hours with a few formalities. Thank you for logging in. It's 16 hours, so we're going to start. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for logging in, tuning in. I'm Dr. Chileshima Bulawwalia. I'm the Medical Education and Research Board Chair for ZMA. And it is my great pleasure to bring you this week's Professional Development Series webinar. Today, we'll be talking about social media literacy with a specific focus on training and kind of orienting doctors to engagement with social media. I am very, very excited to welcome Ms. Twaambo Kapilikisha, who will be presenting our content today. Twaambo is, oh, I'm going to forget. Twaambo's passion is helping organizations unlock the full potential of their most critical resource, which is their people. As an independent coach and consultant, Twaambo specializes in guiding individuals and organizations through transitions, helping them thrive in whatever new space they find themselves in, and having conversations that spark creativity. And I felt that this was such a good fit for us because one of my mandates as MERB chair is to really try and help people make the most of their skills, their qualifications, and to really just get the most out of being a doctor. I think that this is really one of our greatest assets. And for me, I really just like to help and encourage people to use the craft, the medical craft, their expertise to capitalize and monetize to their advantage, essentially. I am very excited to see many distinguished members of the House. I believe that we are also going to be joined by Dr. Kawa Membe, who is the Deputy Registrar for HPCZ, our regulator. And I would simply like to say all protocols observed. Twaambo, if you are ready, I am very excited to hand
I sure am.
Mike. There she is. Okay, everyone. Without further ado, Twaambo has asked that we save questions till the end, and or please put them in the chat as you think of them, and we will have some time at the end to address questions, to share experiences, those who have some experience with social media engagement and so on. So please do get involved, ask your questions, but we will have a session for Q&A right at the end. Thanks, Twaambo. Over to you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to go over here to my screen. I hope you can all see me. If you can, please let me know. Do you see my presentation? Great, thank you. So welcome to an introduction to social media for doctors. I am Twaambo Kapilikisha, and as Chilesha introduced me, I'm a transition coach and a creative concept consultant. And what that means is I help people sit around and come up with ideas. My job is to sit there and think of creative ideas for marketing, for different companies, for individuals, depending on what they want to do. I am also a transition coach, which means that I help people transition from one career to another, from one life situation to another. And it is part of my job that I enjoy really a lot. And I'm happy to bring this presentation to you as doctors because my big aspiration when I went to university was to be a doctor. And maybe there are some of you that are in this webinar right now that I went to school with. I did not end up being a doctor. I am more of a creative person, and now I am doing more creative work. So I'm going to jump right in, and we're going to talk about social media. What does it mean for you as a Zambian doctor? How can you use it for the good of Zambia, for your own leverage? Let's get into it. And I'd also like to say that the internet might come in and out. I have some videos in the presentation. I might have to go back to a previous slide or something just so that the video can play, but just bear with me on that one. Okay, so what you can expect. First of all, we're going to understand social media branding and its importance for you as a doctor. Why should you use social media? Which platform? How often? What is good content? What if you're awkward? We're going to talk about the legal aspects of everything, and we're going to talk about how you can leverage your social media for your own good, for your good of the country, for the good of science, basically. So I want to talk a little bit about what you were getting wrong about social media. What is your excuse? Why aren't you using social media as much as other people are using it? So some of the excuses that a lot of people come up with, doctors, lawyers, accountants, is they think that social media is just a trend and it will die out. But if you think about things like Facebook, Twitter, now TikTok, they've been around for a while and they have become embedded in our society. It is where we go for our news. It is where we go to get opinions. It is where we go to find out what is going on. Some people think they're not good looking enough to be on social media. They think that they should be really trendy. They should have the latest clothes. That is just an excuse. Especially as a doctor, you might think that you will lose your good standing in society if you post on social media. I understand that there are so many things that come with being a doctor, public perception, confidentiality, but I promise you that there's ways that you can do this to where you will not lose your good social standing, especially in the Zambian society, in relation to our cultural practices, etc. Another one is we are dumbing down medicine for the masses. I understand that there's things that you can only explain in a scientific way, but be assured that there are ways that you can explain it, that you're not dumbing it down. You are basically making it simpler, so to say. You might think it's a waste of time, but that is what, if we take a look at our political landscape, that's what a lot of people thought in our last election. That was not it. A lot of people thought that we would not change governments because all the talk was on social media. But I would like to use that as a good example of how social media can be used in a great way. So you might think that people won't understand medical jargon. I think that people nowadays are really good at using Google. If there's something that they don't understand, they simply put it in Google and they can find, medical terms in medical encyclopedias, in the dictionary. People have the time to actually sit down and look if you feel that people are not going to get what you're saying. And you might also think that social media is used by doctors and nurses who have lots of time on their hands, like dermatologists or just nurses, because rumor is dermatologists have lots of time on their hands. But I'd like to assure you that there are people that are very, very, very busy that still find the time to post on social media and they're using it for their good. And I have some examples in this presentation and we'll get to that. So why is social media important for you as a Zambian doctor? So what comes to mind for you when you think of Zambian doctors on social media? And at the top of my mind and at the top of most people's minds is when you hear about strikes, when you hear about the pay gap or wanting to be paid, hiring squabbles with the government, brain drain, Zambian doctors going to work in greener pastures. This is the narrative that we have, or that most people hear about or they see on the internet or on the news about Zambian doctors. Now, Zambia produces some of the most brilliant doctors in the world, but we don't get to hear a lot about this because, for example, if we talk about brain drain, we have doctors that go and live and work in other hospitals that we never get to hear that that person comes from Zambia. They went to school here. This is what they enjoyed about going to school here, the kind of work that they're doing back in their country, even though they work somewhere else. So this is a huge reason why we need to change the narrative on social media of what Zambian doctors are like, what practicing medicine in Zambia is like. And the only people that can do that are you, the doctors. So why should you use social media as a Zambian doctor? So number one, you would be changing the narrative of medicine in Zambia and the world over. We want to know what it's like to be a doctor in Zambia. What is your day like? When do you get up? How do you get to work? When do you start your rounds? What kind of patients are you seeing? The only way we can know this is if you tell us, if you show us. You will be providing public health education that counters inaccurate information patients might find online elsewhere. And a good example of this is when we first started the COVID pandemic. I don't know if you remember, and I don't know if you have parents or aunties that were sending you all these WhatsApp videos from doctors in Nigeria, from doctors, I don't know, in Costa Rica, telling us or showing us what we must do. I do not remember seeing a video from a Zambian doctor that was telling us what to do, or that was countering all this false information that was being spread on social media. And people are very quick to believe what they get via WhatsApp. And it would be really nice to see a local doctor, a doctor that maybe one of us has seen in the hospital, counter these videos and say, I know you've seen this video coming from some doctor in Nigeria saying that you must try this concoction. I am here to tell you as Dr. Walia that this does not work because of these several reasons. This makes us as Zambians feel that we are being heard. It makes us feel like, yes, our people care about us, and we are producing doctors that are also in the know. An important thing is you would be reaching younger generations that look more to the internet for medical information than to doctors or those wanting to be doctors. So you know that in this age, the younger generation especially are more likely to go to TikTok for information than they are to Google. So I think our generation, what do they call us? Gen Z, or is it Gen X? I don't even remember. But you know that we go to Google to find all our answers. But the younger generation goes to Twitter. Most of all, they go to TikTok to find out where to eat, to find out about medical conditions, to find out what's the latest trend of what they need to do. And if doctors are not on these platforms, then these young people will continue to be, they're going to get information that is not correct. And this is why it is important for you as a Zambian doctor to jump on so you can reach younger people. And it's also important for young people that want to become doctors, because then they get to see your journey and they know what actually entails becoming a doctor. You would also be having conversations with other experts in the field, putting yourself in line for collaborations and recommendations. Finding fellow doctors on social media is very easy. It could be LinkedIn, it could be Twitter. Twitter is really great for sparking a conversation and giving your opinion on certain matters. And this shines a spotlight on you and your knowledge and your way of thinking. And that way, doctors world over could then be able to say, well, this seems like a doctor that understands our problem, and we could collaborate with them on a particular issue. So being out there and giving information as a Zambian doctor is very, very important for these reasons that I listed. So I want to talk a little bit about medutainment. Now, I know that you as a doctor know about shows like Grey's Anatomy, you know about all the different things people are doing on TikTok or on Instagram. I want to talk in particular about medutainment, which is shows like My 600-Pound Life. I know you've seen these shows from the US where people are wanting to drastically lose weight, then they go to a doctor and he performs a gastric bypass. So it is medicine and education and entertainment at the same time. And the term used is medutainment. Now, this might feel very, very new, but in fact, it is not new. If you think about the Zambian perspective, how we go into the communities and sensitize people about putting chlorine in their water when we have, a cholera outbreak, or why children should get vaccinated. Sometimes we engage with the chiefs, we engage with local headmen, and we go and we put on little plays, or there's plays on the radio, there's jingles and advertising. It is the same thing. It's medutainment, it's entertainment, and it's also educating, and then it's medicine at the same time. It only looks different and feels different because the times have changed. Technology is moving at a very, very fast rate. And so it feels like we shouldn't go there. We're just used to hearing jingles on the radio or sending people out to go and do plays. But you would be essentially doing the same thing if this is the stance that you take on social media. So think about what kind of content you're consuming on social media on a daily basis. And I would like you to think about when you are in between rounds, when you're at home laying on your bed and it's time to just relax, or when you're looking for news, think of all the pages that you visit. Think about news diggers, for example. Think about Al Jazeera. Think about what you're consuming for entertainment. Are you following the Kardashians? Are you following Pompey, for example? How does this information make you feel? And when are you going to check this information? And what is it doing for you? And I would like you to keep that in mind as we continue with our conversation. Think about your own social media habits, the kind of information that you're consuming. It'll be important as we go along for you to tailor how you put yourself out there on social media. So there are 3 questions to figure out which platform you should use if you are going to jump onto social media and use it as a doctor. First of all, I want to talk about your personality. What is your personality? I'm not talking about your professional personality. I'm not talking about the you that comes out when you put on your white coat and it's time to see patients. Who are you when you are not a doctor? What do you do for hobbies? What do you do to relax? Do you like to cook? Do you play sports? Do you lift weights? Is this part of your personality that you can use to shine on social media? Who are you when you're the most fun? And what does your family know about you that other people don't know? And this may feel very intrusive for you, especially as a doctor, because when you go and see patients, you have to become a certain person, kind of leave who you are out the door. And then it's the complete opposite when you jump onto social media. You have to bring this person to the front again. And this might be very, very uncomfortable for you. But it's a good question to consider. What is your personality? The second step would be, which format are you most comfortable with? I have seen quite a few Zambian doctors on Twitter, short form, give your opinion, reply to somebody else. That could be a time issue. There are people that love Instagram. They love to look at nice photos. They like to read fun captions or have information in the captions. It could be TikTok, dancing videos. I know that you've seen them, very funny stuff. That could be your format. It could be long form. It could be you and a fellow doctor start a podcast about gynecology, about fibroids. Or it could be that you actually go on YouTube. You are teaching students something, you're teaching fellow doctors something. So I would like you to take the time to think about which format you're the most comfortable with. And then it would also be great to try the format that you are most uncomfortable with. So for example, TikTok, and I'm going to show a lot of TikTok videos in this presentation of dancing people. And I know you might think, oh my gosh, I'm a bad dancer. I can't get into that. Let me tell you that that might be the thing that we're actually wanting to see. And then the third step would be for you to just try it. Just try it. If you've never thought about starting a podcast, sit down with a friend, simply hit record on the computer or on a microphone where you can record and have this conversation. Have a conversation about your work, have a conversation about what life is like outside the hospital. Record a YouTube video, try and do an Instagram live. Just try it. All you have to do is start creating. You will not be 100% prepared. Just start. You might have to start a new social media account. That's even better because there's no people on there and you could try as many things as you want to try. So I would really, really consider it. Think about what your personality is. Think about which format you're most comfortable with and the one you're most uncomfortable with, and then try both. All you need to do is try it. So now we're going to deal with the big fear right off the bat. The question is always, what if I'm awkward? And my question to you would be, what is the worst that people could say about you when you post on social media? So I have some examples. Oh, what a nerd. Geez, what is he wearing? You're afraid of people judging what you're going to wear. What a quack. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, is this the caliber of Zambian doctors? You might be afraid of that. Or you might even say, yeah, tabai shiba social media, right? You're afraid of somebody judging you for how you're going to come out on social media. And I'm here to let you know that you need to put that fear aside immediately. Because already people judge you every day for the kind of doctor you are. Your own colleagues are judging you every day. And you know what that does? Nothing. It doesn't help with the way that you look at patients. It doesn't help with the way you are treating your patients. And you jumping on social media and being awkward might actually be endearing for some people who feel awkward too. And they might empathize with you, and then they might be more inclined to listen to you as a physician, as opposed to somebody that's polished, looking nice, always in a nice office, because they feel that that person is not approachable. So I want you to put this fear aside right off the bat. Forget about being perfect, forget about coming out like you're the most learned person in the room. That is not who we gravitate towards on social media. And this I can prove if you looked at all the people that you follow. You do have some polished people, but most people that you follow are the ones that just blow your mind, that make you comfortable, that have you laughing all the time. And then there's the question of, what if I'm boring, right? What happens if you're boring? Today's currency is attention. Attention is what companies are striving for to get us. Think about all the ads that you see on television. Think about the football games. Think about all the things that you're buying. When you walk into ShopRite, what are they trying to do? They're trying to get your attention to the specials that they have, and they are right there in your face. So the question is, what if you're boring? What I want you to know is that people already think that doctors are boring. Everybody writes about doctors and people have so many preconceptions about what you do and how you think. And being on social media would actually change this narrative. We don't know what it's like to be you. We don't know what it's like to work the hours that you work. And no, we don't know how you think. So will you be boring? You will be boring if you speak to us like you were speaking to a fellow physician. You will be boring if everything has to be polished up and it's like you were just presenting to the United Nations convention or something. We're talking about social media here. We're talking about you reaching people from all walks of life, people that would never thought that they would see a Zambian doctor talking about health on social media or dancing and letting us know about health. So you won't be boring if you throw off this persona that you think you have to have in order to reach the people. Be yourself, be who you are without the white coat. So I have one video here. So this man is called the telepsychiatrist, and he is very, very popular on TikTok. As you see, he's just an old man. He always wears a bow tie. It's really, really funny that he gets on and he dances. And when you dig a little bit into his story, dancing is basically his passion, his obsession. He always wanted to dance, but he just thought that he was never able to. And he was very shy about doing it. And you might think, well, he looks really, really silly, especially, you know, dancing and talking about psychiatry. But what I want to tell you is that this doctor is very popular. Why is he popular? He's endearing, right? You look at him, you look at his little bow tie, his dance moves are the craziest, but you think, okay, I'm going to give him a chance. And you keep watching him. And as you watch him, you learn a lot about different conditions. You learn about OCD, you learn about what it's like to go and see a psychiatrist. And it's empathetic, you empathize with him. But the most important thing is that he reaches young people that would normally not walk into his office. A lot of young people want to go and see doctors that are much younger because they feel that then this man or this person, this doctor is going to understand what I'm going through. So by him doing a video like this, he then reaches people from all walks of life because he feels approachable in this kind of setup. So if you are on TikTok, please go ahead and follow the telepsychiatrist. He's pretty funny to watch, but his stuff is so educational. So I want to talk about what you can focus on if you do decide to use social media as a physician, as a doctor, what you can talk about. So you can focus on different conditions patients are actively researching or unique to your region. And I added unique to your region because there are things that, or diseases that people here have that they don't have, for example, in Germany. There are treatments that we have that people will not have abroad, and they treat them differently. And I mentioned Germany because I've lived there for a while, and I remember talking about coming back home. And there was a huge concern about malaria and how I needed to take this anti-malaria medicine basically, and it was going to cost lots and lots of money. And doctors were very surprised for me to tell them that I had had malaria several times and that I'm very cognizant about, you know, taking the medication, etc., and that I would actually rather come home and take the medication here and not spend so much time. This information will be readily available if you as a doctor could come on and tell us about what that's like. That is a focus that you can have on your social media. You can talk about treatments that you provide to resolve certain conditions. You can talk about your unique point of view on patient care, especially in Zambia. What does patient care look like here? How do you deal with cultural practices that go against what the West would think is good for treating certain conditions? How do you handle it as a Zambian doctor? How do you handle treating somebody that has certain convictions that the West would never understand? This could be some content that you could focus on that would be so refreshing to see on social media, because right now when you search for that content, there's not a lot of it there. And So I want to talk about Dr. Pimple Popper and Dr. Michael Hay. I'm sure you've seen Dr. Pimple Popper on DSTV. I think it comes on the Discovery Channel or something. Her name is Dr. Sandra Lee, and she focuses on showing skin conditions and extractions. And if you're one of those people that likes to pop pimples, this is a great show for you. She pops all kinds of cysts, growths. It's really gross for some people, but if you like that kind of content, it is the best for you to look at. Just see how she does it. She has patients come in, she takes short videos of the actual extraction, she explains what it is. It's very, very informative. Dr. Michael Hay is great because he's an orthopedic surgeon. And for him, he doesn't actually show his patients in the videos. He shows different procedures and he doesn't do them on the operating table. He just shows them in the treatment room. And I would really ask you to check out his TikTok channel. It's very, very informative. If you do not want to actually present patients while you are showing yourself on social media, he is a good example of what you can do to teach people of what it takes to be an orthopedic surgeon, depending on what kind of medicine you're practicing. Now, another thing you may not have thought of sharing on social media is your hobbies and your passions. You may not have thought about that. You may document your journey as a medical student, you specializing, you getting your PhD, motherhood, fatherhood, building your house. You can share recipes, exercise, raising your children in Osaka, your journey to financial literacy. You being on social media as a doctor does not necessarily mean that you are sharing information that is all about medicine. It could be you sharing your journey to building your home. This is about you being a social media personality. Would it come in, you talking about being a doctor and building a home? Of course, that is content that we would want to see because we are curious. How does it work? What is your life like? What does that mean to build a home as a doctor? So this is something that you would really, really think of. If I'm not sharing medical information or about my job, what else outside of practicing medicine can I share on social media? Now, one important thing I want to talk about here is if you are going to share information about your family, especially on social media, I would be very, very careful with that. Would you want to become really famous on social media and walk into ShopRite and people can recognize you, recognize your children, or if your children go to particular schools, people know where your children go to school? I think this is something that a lot of people don't think about. They don't think about the price that famous people on social media pay, especially if they show their family outright. And another huge legal issue that is coming up now is that showing your children on social media. Most of the times when parents show their children, they do not get their consent. I know that you are proud, you want to share your pictures of your baby, of your daughter, of your son, but they do not have your consent, because these images are on the internet forever. And some children are now growing up and suing their parents. Of course, this is in the West. I have not heard of a Zambian child suing their parents. But there are children that are growing up and they are mad that their parents shared their life on social media. So this would be something that you should really, really consider if you're going to share your life outside of medicine. What you could do is also have a mixture of both. Now here I have two examples of Zambian doctors that I follow on Instagram. I really love their content. Dr. Babe and B. Luke. I love their content because it is a mixture of, being a doctor, but then lifestyle, traveling, makeup, clothes, and they're very aesthetically pleasing. I love the content. It is mixed, and I would encourage that you visit their profiles just to see how they're doing it. But this is an example of how you can. This humanizes you. This shows that you're a person with aspirations, with hobbies. You love to travel. You are a person. And I think this changes the perspective of if I do walk into an office and you are the doctor, I could say, oh, Dr. Babe, I saw you on Instagram. I really like your video about skincare. I want to talk to somebody about that. And I'm glad that I've met you. This was what I'm talking about with humanizing you. So here are some examples of content for Zambian doctors. If you're not going to talk about the things that I've talked about before, or just to give you an example of the things that you can actually go into. This was a tweet that somebody posted that I found really, really interesting. She says, nurses and doctors that do anything and everything to keep the system in place. No stationary in the ward, nurses crowdfunded. No bread, nurses crowdfunded. Not enough doctors, watch them do double overtime with no pay. No equipment, you should see the creativity that comes through. I really, really like that tweet because I had never thought about what do doctors do, especially in a developing country like Zambia, when they don't have the equipment that the West has. How do you creatively do this work? It would be great to know. It would be great to show. It would show your resilience. It would open everybody's eyes to the hard work that you actually do. And who knows, it might mobilize the powers that be to actually get you the equipment that you need. This other tweet was, when you get the chance to slow down at work and realize your team is full of Black girl magic. I love this tweet because it showed an operating room team that was all Black women. And I would love to see the same if this happens in Zambia. This is great content for girls that are still in high school, for girls that are still at UNZA wanting to get to medical school. It would be so great for them to be able to see that this is possible. It's motivating. It shows that women can do this as well. So it would be great if content like this could be shared by Zambian doctors. So what is good content from you as a healthcare professional? It is content that brings value. And what do I mean by bringing value? Can I come to your page and learn something? Can I come to your page and be entertained? Can I come to your page over and over again and be able to trust you? Can I come to your page and know that when I come there, you're not going to give me fluff. You're not going to endorse something that is not true. This is what value means on social media. And this would be going back again to you thinking about all the people that you follow on social media. Why do you keep going back? What is the value that they bring to you? If it is somebody that is motivating you all the time, they bring you motivation day in, day out, you appreciate that. They bring you valuable motivation. So how can you, as a doctor, bring value on social media? One of my favorites is Dr. Naeem Dalal on Twitter. He talks about mental health, and this is a huge subject now. I know that you have heard of all these mental health issues that seem to have come up that are in the spotlight now in the Zambian society. And what he does is he posts a lot about mental health, and he has also been in Twitter spaces talking about mental health. And Twitter spaces are great because you can speak to the general public about a certain topic in real time, take questions, people listen in. It's a bit like a Zoom call. People can log in, mute their microphones, and you talk by yourself or you talk to another expert about a certain subject. This is great because you are there in real time and people can, it's a bit like being on radio, except it's on your phone. So this is available if you're on Twitter. They allow for open, authentic, and unfiltered discussions, and there's a space for any and every topic. So you jumping on, talking about urology, talking about fibroids, this would be great. Zambians are really great at engaging on Twitter, and I would encourage you using this medium if you don't want to show your face. If you want to sit at home and talk from your phone, this one would be great. What you can also share is advice about your journey. Now here I have some highlights, some screenshots of highlights from Dr. Babe on Instagram. Again, she was really great at allowing me to show you what she's doing. She's a medical student, and here she was giving advice to fellow medical students about, for example, this question says, also, what factors did you consider when picking a hospital in 5th year? She gives her example, she gives her answer. The other question is, what advice would you give for someone in 4th medicine year 2? These are examples of how she's using social media as a medical student to help other medical students and answer their questions. And this could be something that you do as well for other doctors or just for any other subject. Advising people and sharing advice about your journey is a good use of social media. This is a tweet that I saw the other day by Dr. Wesley Banda. He's on Twitter. He's very funny on there. And he says, the doctor, you need to have at least 8 hours of quality sleep per day. Also, the doctor at midnight, he shows a picture of himself doing surgery. What I liked about this, it was very humorous, but it was also showing how serious his work is and what it takes to be a doctor. This is great content for aspiring doctors And it's also great for demoralized doctors. If you're a doctor that thinks I'm the only one that's always up, I'm having a hard time, sharing your journey in this way helps keep everybody on their toes. It helps us know what you're going through. It helps us know that, oh, there's somebody out there who can find humor in this situation. So that is another way that you can use social media. And now I'm going to share this video. I hope it plays automatically. If not, I will try and play it.
Please don't waste your money on stuff like this. This is an electrode that creates this high frequency current to kind of transfer this current between the electrode and your skin. I think this is like a neon base, and they have like argon based ones. They might sound really fancy and flashy, but look at what happens to this guy when he tries to treat his acne. I mean, that could lead to scarring.
Dr. Pimple Popper is demystifying, or she's talking about a popular TikTok trend for a young person that was using this device that they were zapping their acne on their face. And she was talking about how dangerous this is and how you shouldn't do this. This leads to scarring. She recommends actually going in to see a physician. So in this one, she talks about dangerous TikTok trends. And this is something that you can do as well, is if there's a trend that is going on, telling people to go take a particular medicine or to use certain machinery, and you know that that doesn't work, you can go on and say why something is dangerous. So that's another way that you can use social media. We'll go on to the next slide. So now I want to talk about branding yourself as a doctor. Whether you like it or not, you are a brand right now. The way that you dress tells a story. The way that you speak tells a story. The way you talk to your patients tells a story. Ask your fellow doctors or nurses that you work with, what would you say I'm best known for? If you think about big companies in Zambia, let's say MTN, Airtel, Coca-Cola, you know them for particular things. Do you remember when Coca-Cola was best known for amazing Christmas ads? Well, I want to tell you that you are best known for something. You are a particular brand right now. Using social media can help your brand emerge for the greater good and for your own personal gain. And I'm not saying by saying you're a brand right now that this is what you will always remain on social media. I am saying that you need to consider that you are a brand and know that you can tailor a brand on social media. You can have a particular voice, you can have a particular style, but just know that branding is intrinsic, but you can work on what your brand is. And you can figure out what kind of brand do I want to have as a doctor? Because this is a very important thing. And so now I want to talk about Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike is I think one of the most popular doctors on TikTok. Dr. Mike is a very nice looking man. You can take a look, always well groomed. He always has his dog in the picture there, very endearing to dog lovers. And this was an excerpt from an article asking him what would he say his brand is. He said, "My brand is fun and interesting, easy to understand medicine. My name is Mikhail Vashavsky, but Dr. Mike is more brand friendly. It's easier to understand. It has more mass appeal. And some people might say, well, aren't you selling out by trying to get mass appeal? I think not, because the more mass appeal I have, the more people I'm able to reach with my type of medicine. It's about taking the good quality evidence, but dressing it up in a pretty suit, making it pretty or fun to watch. There's a lot of noise, and noise presents itself in a very shiny outfit. And what my job as a doctor is, knowing that through evidence, this is what works, I have to make this seem shiny. So that's what I do. I'm on mass appeal, but for good quality medicine. And that's the whole approach of all of my social media platforms. He's very, very popular. I'm gonna tell you again, he's very, very popular. Women love to look at him. Men love to lift weights and look like him. Dog lovers love his content because of his dog. He's a family practitioner, I think. And yes, it is dressed up, it is shiny, but he's not using anything that he's not, basically. He lifts weight, he likes to look good, he's in shape. Is this something that you can use for your own brand? This is why I'm showing you him, because I want you to think about what is it that I can use as my brand on social media? It's a good question to think about. What are you? Do you like to lift weights? What's your thing? That'll be the gateway into you posting on social media and maybe having a mass following and bringing good quality medicine to the people. So let's get to the legal aspect of everything. What can you share on social media? How can you share it What are the legal boundaries and what does HPCZ say? So you as a healthcare expert, you can walk a very fine line between using social media and breaking the law. It's very, very easy for you to break the law on social media, especially as a doctor. So how do you post on social media and make sure that you are in line with the law? So here are some common violations made by doctors when they share on social media. Number one, they post images and videos of patients without a written consent. You want to show somebody something, you want to show before and after, you take a picture, your patient doesn't even know that you took this picture or that you're posting on social media. Sharing of photographs or images taken inside a healthcare facility in which patients are clearly identifiable. You might be taking a picture of you and your colleague, but there's somebody standing in the back. You take the picture, you share it on social media. That is illegal. That person is being shown on social media without their consent. Or you share photos, videos, or text on social media platforms or within a private group. If you are in a doctor's WhatsApp group and you are taking pictures of your patients and sharing them in the WhatsApp group, that is illegal. You are not allowed to do that. Other violations include scandals online involving the institution, your colleagues, personal drama, you airing your grievances against another doctor or of an institution on social media. That is a violation. There are proper channels with which you must do that, and I would advise that you follow that. Drama involving personal stuff at home, stuff with your friends, I would not engage in because this could help you lose your job really quickly. This affects who works with you in the future. So please take note of these violations and make sure that you are not making them. I want you to think of all the Zambian internet scandals, and I want to assure you that the internet never forgets. You could go viral for all the wrong reasons, and it will affect you much longer than you think. I know you can think of a few people that went viral on Zambian social media or in Zambian WhatsApp messages. Think about those things that were shared with you and think if they are sitting in your phone gallery right now. And think about how ready you are to share them with somebody for a laugh. People are very good at screenshots. Somebody will screenshot something that you said and keep it in their gallery, and it'll be 5, 6 years from now. You are up for a promotion. You've had the interviews. You're just about to sign on the dotted line, and oh no, somebody sent the screenshot. So I would advise, be very, very careful because we don't forget. When somebody is appointed, there are people that specifically wake up in the morning to peruse the internet to find something wrong that you posted from 5 years ago. Trust me. Here's an example of somebody that did not get a position because of social media. I'll quickly read this. Hi, Josh. I've heard back from X, and unfortunately, they will not be moving forward with your candidacy for the particular role. While you did have a lot of the skills they were looking for, they have concerns about the way that you present yourself online. They came across the post in which you said you wanted to burn down Whole Foods and other posts that they said are against their social media policy. I am sorry that this has happened as I did not know that they were reviewing candidates' social media prior to setting up interviews. Something to maybe keep in mind though moving forward, as it does seem like something more employers are doing these days, just as an FYI. If another role comes up that would be suitable for, I will absolutely reach out. This is an example of somebody that did not get their job because of what they post on social media. So you might think it's harmless for you to post comments on News Diggers, on Kalemba, on all these other social media pages that you can think of, all the scandalous ones, right? You might think that it's very, very innocent, but trust that there's somebody looking, always. So be very, very careful about that. So the HPZ Code of Ethics. This Code of Ethics is here to protect you as a doctor and the patient. They have a booklet that is available for you to look through. It has the guidelines of what they are expecting, how they're protecting the patient, how they're protecting you when you are posting on social media. So where do you find the guidelines? As I said, it is in this little booklet. I was able to get a picture of it. And what does it say? So guidelines state that you must practice patient confidentiality. Advertising must not have inaccurate, incomplete, or misleading information. So for example, you must say your name, what kind of doctor that you are, where you're practicing, if you are going to be talking about medical situations online. Print or electronic media must have factual information, your name, your profession, your qualifications, your contact details. You must not be bashing an institution. You must not be pushing a certain kind of medication. You must not be referring everybody to yourself and emulating yourself as the best doctor online. This goes against the code of ethics. I would suggest that you pick up this little booklet so you can go through, so you can have everything top of mind when you are posting on social media. Now, HPCZ is thinking about revising this little notebook to emulate current practices and, just to be cognizant of the latest technology, because they know this is the direction that we're moving in. So they're thinking about revising this, and they're wanting to speak to doctors about how they can best do this, just to open the dialogue so they can better protect you and better protect your patients. And so they will be reaching out. It would also be great if you reach out to them and let them know what your needs are, what your thoughts are, so that as they revise, or when they do revise this, if they do, then they are in order with how things actually work for you. So if you are going to be posting medical content, where you're showing how certain procedures work or talking about different conditions, if you are going to get to a point where you need to show a patient's arm, a patient's foot, you must have a robust, informed consent process. So patients will understand that once photos and videos of blog posts are online, they are irrevocable. Patients will understand the risk. You have to show them before you post, this is what you're going to post, and you must obtain consent for the pictures outside of consent for something like surgery. When you have a surgery, you have to sign a consent form. There must be a consent form for the picture as well, and they must see that this is what you're wanting to show and in what context you're going to share this information. And I also want to say that every time you post a body part on the internet, it is sexualized, whether you like it or not. So if you share a photo of the shoulder, somebody will sexualize it for no apparent reason. So this is something that you really need to think about when you are going to post a patient's body part, a patient's face, if they have your consent. Can somebody sexualize, and what context is this going to be in? Protect the patient, protect yourself, make sure that you have consent before you post anything about your patients. How do you handle comments? People are going to comment on your pictures, they're going to comment on your videos. Always be polite, acknowledge people's concerns, remind them if they're asking you, hey doctor, I have this growth on my eye, what do I do? Remind them that you cannot diagnose over social media. Tell them to get in touch with a particular facility. It doesn't necessarily have to be your facility. You can say, please get in touch with the nearest facility to have a doctor properly check this condition. If you are getting negative comments with untruthful comments about who you are, the medicine that you're practicing, things that you have done in the past, always have a general or a generic response where you say, thank you so much for your comment. Please get in touch on this number. This is how this is how I handle complaints. And the privacy rules as well. Make sure that you know the privacy rules, they know the privacy rules, so that you are protected and the patient is protected. You need to contact the police immediately if there is somebody posting a threat against you, against where you work, against your colleagues. If, for example, they say, I know that you are usually at Levy on Wednesday, I'm going to be there and I'll show you who's boss. Right? Call the cops, tell the police, show them, please print these threats, print them, because people can always go and delete. Print this threat, take it to the police and say, somebody has threatened to come where I work because they've seen me in the hospital. They're threatening to come and arrest me, to come and beat me up or beat the people that I work with. Please be there. So when you're handling comments, if something really makes you angry, take a minute, put your phone away, put your computer away, breathe, come back, write a generic response. Thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate what you're saying. Please note that we handle complaints this way. Get in touch with me on this number. We can talk about this off of social media. If somebody says something really nice, oh, you're the best doctor, you're the best urologist in town, You can take that compliment, but not have to then repost it and say that, yes, you are the best urologist in town. You can also say, I am happy to be a member of ZMA that has some of the greatest urologists in Zambia, something, but not to advertise yourself as the greatest, your institution as the greatest. Learn to be patient and have generic response when people comment on your social media. What happens in the DMs? DMs are direct messages for those that don't know what DM stands for. DM is a direct message you can get on Instagram, you can get on Twitter, Facebook. What you get on Facebook Messenger is also a direct message. Can you answer them? If it's a general question, not a problem. But you cannot diagnose anybody on social media. You should not in any way start a relationship with somebody via DMs, especially if you're posting content as a doctor. As I said, screenshots are forever. Screenshots are taken quicker than you think, and you might catch a lawsuit faster than you think. By answering the question, answer to the best of your understanding without sharing or asking for additional private information is often the safe approach. So don't ask somebody in the DMs, so where do you live? So where can I find you? Please don't do that. Can you charge for giving medical advice via the DMs? No. Simple answer, no, do not do that. You need to have this person come to where you work if they're going to be a patient of yours for you to diagnose and treat under the institution so that you are covered legally. Should I have genetic pre-written answers for DMs? Yes. Answers that direct your social media audience to visit their nearest facility with their health concern is encouraged. Please do not diagnose, do not prescribe medication. Do not give advice, oh, I heard just go and futukila yourself under eucalyptus. If something goes wrong, somebody could always take a screenshot and say, this doctor is the one who told me to go and do this. Please be very, very careful about that. So now I'm going to talk about everybody's favorite topic. We're going to talk about money. Okay, we are going to talk about money. Shall we talk about money? We cannot talk about being on social media without broaching this subject. Can you, as a doctor, make extra money on social media? The answer is, you sure can. You sure can. Farming and rearing chickens is not for everyone. Talking to a lot of doctors and how they make extra money, especially in Zambia, seems to come down to being in the agro business. This is a great thing to do. It's not, there's nothing shameful about it, but there are other ways that you as a doctor can make money off social media. The latest crop of Instagram influencers is medical students. As I've shown you, Dr. Babe, she's a great medical student. She's sharing all this information. They're sharing their struggles. And it seems medical students the world over are seeming to be the new crop of social media influencers that are making quite a bit of money on social media. So here are examples of extra income for doctors. You can teach. And by teaching, I don't mean just standing in front of a lecture hall or teaching like this on Zoom. Those are good ideas. But what you can also do is you can have a digital download. You make a PDF that you can sell from your website and people pay for it and they download it and they use it. You can record videos on YouTube. For example, how I ranked first in this course at medical school in Unza. Currently, YouTube in Zambia is not monetizing their content because a lot of people in Zambia do not click on the ads. We need to change that, but there are ways that you can get paid off of YouTube. So you can make different videos showing people your journey or how they can do certain things. You can make ebooks. This daily list got me through my surgery rotation. Is there a way that you got through your rotation that made it easier for you and you can package this as an ebook and sell it to the medical students that are coming up? It doesn't have to be like a physical pamphlet. People like to read from their phones. This is stuff that you can do. You can make extra money via sponsorship. So sponsorship from companies to advertise their products to your audience. Now, I know you might think that for this, you need to have 100,000 followers. That is not true. When you think about social media these days, people are buying from micro influencers because some people don't trust people that have millions of people following them. They want people that have 5,000 followers. They're like, oh, okay, I can do this. I trust that this person is telling me the truth. You can also make money guest speaking. You can market your expertise in your field of medicine. You can market your work in research for visibility. These are different ways that you can make money as doctor.
My 5 other sources of income outside of being a doctor. So the very first source of income I created was a personal training business. I'm crazy passionate about fitness, about evidence-based medicine, and helping people achieve their fitness goals. Income number 2 would be affiliate marketing. My social media started to take off, especially on TikTok and then Instagram, and next hopefully YouTube. The third stream of income would be by sponsorships. And sponsorships would be where a brand or a company pays me a set amount to make video content for them on either TikTok, on Instagram, or on YouTube. The fourth stream of income would be guest speaking. So that would be where a place or a university or a group of people want me to come and speak to them on different topics. The fifth stream of income would just be from TikTok itself. And this would be on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube that you would be able to do this if you are active on these platforms. And that would be through their creator funds.
Those are his examples of how he makes extra income as a doctor. Now I'm going to try and play this next one, which was a very practical example of a sponsorship by a South African doctor that I really like. She talks a lot about diet. And in this video, she talks about her sponsorship with Pro Natura, but will this play for us?
My life is always on the go, running around from place to place, and especially at the hospital because it's so busy. I need something that's going to keep me powered on the go. And so ProNutra has sent me some incredible goodies. So let's check it out. They've sent me these 3 incredible flavors from the ProNutra Active range. My favorite, by the way, is the banana. It's got 10 sachets in here that I just mix with this blender bottle to have as a meal replacement shake, sometimes for breakfast, or probably as a meal on the go because I'm going to be on call. It's probably going to be super busy. I love that they've also sent me this incredible bag for me to carry everything in, this water bottle, as well as this mama top because, you know, I am a mama on the go. Fuel up anywhere on the go with ProNutra Active.
So I would really like you to consider different ways that you can make money as a doctor on social media for your expertise and using your hobbies and your passions. What would that look like? So I go back to Dr. Babe. She's a practical example, and I like to use her because she is a medical student here in Zambia. She lives here. She's in the same economy as you are. She uses the same mobile network as you use. Here's an example. So in this one, she got a sponsorship from Skincare ZM. Some of you might use their products. This is her standing there in her, her white coat. You can see her face is glowing. This is an example of her getting a sponsorship. One thing about me, I stay glowing. Thank you to Skincare ZM for helping me take care of my yummy skin. This is her getting a sponsorship as a doctor. This is a doctor, a young woman, a doctor that loves to take care of her skin, and she's combining both in this social media post. So maybe you're saying you can do that too. Twaambo, all the stuff that you're talking about, I can do. It's not a problem. Great, that's what I like to hear. What you're going to have to understand is that you're going to have to be consistent. It's not just about how often you post, but are you real, are you honest, and can people trust you? I know that you have a job where you don't have time to sit there and post on social media all the time. But that is not what I'm asking of you, talking about consistency. When I talk about consistency, yes, it would be great if you posted a lot or all the time, not all the time, but think about your schedule. Can you post every Friday at 4 p.m. or can you post every Monday, right? So if you think about you sharing your journey as a doctor, is this going to be about your clinical hours? So when are your clinical hours? And does that mean that every Tuesday at 9, you're going to share you sitting in your office and, a simple post like, I'm here reading notes again, and I love to do this because as a doctor, et cetera, et cetera. Can I trust that you are telling me the truth? Are you being honest? Can I trust you? These are important things that come with consistency. So how can you be consistent? As I said, what is going to be your focus? This will help you with being creative. So let's think about that telepsychiatrist that I posted at the beginning of the presentation, that psychiatrist that dances and gives you different information. If he knows that that is his focus, it will take 5 minutes to do a little bit of a dance, post a video, have captions that talk about different psychiatric problems or, whatever it is that he wants to talk about. And then he posts and he continues with his day. He continues with his week. So what is going to be your focus? This will help you be creative. If you know that you're going to focus on sharing your journey, to your PhD on Instagram, maybe you will share photos of you in your space where you do most of your PhD work, and you know that you're going to post it every Thursday or at least once every week. Another question would be, who can help you create or post? You might not be so comfortable with a lot of the social media platforms, but I know you know people that are. There could be young people in your family that find this fun, and there are also people that you can actually pay to get this done. The social media managers. I wouldn't say hire them right off the bat, because first of all, you need to figure out what you're comfortable with and what you're going to talk about. But once you get going and you see, I would actually like to hire somebody to help me put this content out. There's lots of young people here in Lusaka running social media, managing companies that would be really, really helpful. So who can help you create a post? Who can take your picture? Is there a particular nurse, or is it your husband or wife that can take that photo of you getting into the car every morning? That would be good for you to figure out. So what works for one doctor may not work for the next. Ensure you're creating content that works for you. Look back at your content and see what is resonating with people. So if you see what most people are reacting to, and then see if you can post more of that content and see if you can continue going in that direction. This is what's going to show you that people like this content more than the other one, and it will show you that you should continue posting this kind of content. So we're going to quickly recap. Step one, what will you share and how will you share it? Are you going to share conditions, treatments? Are you going to share your life as a doctor? Are you going to share your financial journey? Which platform are you going to use? You don't have to stick to one. You can try the different ones and see what works for you. And when you find that one or two that work, you can eliminate the other ones. Step two, is it legal? Does this go against the code of ethics? Please go ahead and get that booklet by HPCZ. It has all the guidelines that you need, but most of all, remember confidentiality of your patient, confidentiality of your family for their safety. Make sure that you are not painting yourself as the best person in town or demonizing everybody else as the worst doctor or the worst institution. What you want is you're wanting to bring value to people. Step three, consistency is key. Can we recognize you? Can we trust you? And can we engage with you? We want to see you as often as you can post. If it's once a week, that's great. Are you bringing value? Are you teaching us something? Are you teaching us something seriously? Are you teaching us something while you dance? We don't care. We just want the value that you are bringing to us. Now, my last slide is also of a TikTok video. I'm not sure if it's gonna post, but this was, I found very funny. And he was talking about why doctors should stay on TikTok. So let's see if this one will work this time. Yes, that was my presentation. These are different considerations I think that you should take as Zambian doctors. We really need you to show up and show out on social media. Show us what your life is like. Teach us more about how we can trust you, why we should come and see you, different medical conditions that we are not approaching the right way. And also show us what your life is like. Humanize yourselves to us, and that'll be helpful for you. It'll be helpful for us as well. Thank you. That was my presentation.
Yay, that was really fantastic. Thank you so much, Twaambo. And I really learned a lot of things, including, shock to me, that when we've been sharing our patients' conditions or procedures that we've done, that we were out of line. I hope the regulator will turn a blind eye. For the time being, we're all learning, but I think we've all gotten an education. I think it is always important to make sure that you are asking a patient's consent. If it's a child, asking their parents' consent. I'm seeing a lot of appreciation from in the comments section. Wonderful presentations, Komo Kwambiri. Thank you, everyone. I I really enjoyed it too. So we have a few questions already, and please do keep bringing your questions. A reminder to everyone that this presentation is being recorded. We're going until 17:30, which is 30 more minutes. But for anyone who has to drop off now, this will be available. Please do engage. We have an expert here and several people who I think have a social media presence. So we would like to be able to learn from each other. So a question from Dr. Martha Mbewe, if I can find it, is this is actually a bit more technical one. So we might come back to this, Dr. Mbewe, but maybe Twaambo, in your research, you may have come across this one. There's a question that said, good afternoon, very interesting and informative presentation. Is there protection for a doctor who finds their patient's file circulating on social media with their name on it? Can they take legal action? So I think we found these things where maybe I've written something and another doctor comes along and says, who wrote this stupid thing? And takes a screenshot and circulates that information. And is there any recourse for me in such a situation? Would you happen to know?
I didn't come across this particular kind of situation, but I do know that if your name is on there, you could be implicated for many different things, right? Somebody could take this patient file, go somewhere else and say, but Dr. So-and-so said it's okay for me to do it, so please do it for me, right? You need to be cognizant of how your name is being used out there. You can go, I think it would be great to get in touch with HPCZ or go to ZMA and say, I'm unhappy about this, it's circulating on social media. Do I know how it got out there and what can I do about it? They have legal representation that will be able to help you. But please know that if your name is on any formal document and is circulating on the internet against your will, that's not a good thing. Please get legal counsel to find out how it can be taken down, because that could implicate you in the future.
Thank you for that response. I'm also going to take this opportunity to recognize a few esteemed members in the House, including Dr. Kawamembe, the Deputy Registrar of HPCZ, Dr. Mchenela Chivasa, also at HPCZ, our Vice President of Zambia Medical Association, Dr. Patricia Shinondo, and the HPCZ Chair, Dr. Oliver Kawama. I don't know if any, particularly Dr. Membe, would you like to add anything to the statement about the regulatory responsibilities we have as doctors, and any of the recourse that people might have if they have concerns about social media content that's circulating about them or with their name on it?
Hi, thank you so much, Doc, for that recognition. In fact, you elevate me. I'm not Deputy Registrar, but I'm Director Registration. And my colleague, Dr. Chivasa, is Director Inspectorate that deals with health facility licensing. So you have a full team on deck. Thank you so much for having us here. It was a really, really interesting presentation. Twaambo, thank you so much for this. You have really, got us thinking about coming out of our shells slowly and eventually. In terms of your presentation, everything was on point for HPCZ. As you know, our mandate is to protect the public, and we do that through registering new health practitioners and regulating your professional conduct, as well as licensing health facilities and accrediting health services. So in terms of advertising yourselves, I mean, we all enjoy the constitutional rights as Zambians to express ourselves in the form that we so choose. But even whilst enjoying those rights and freedoms that we're all entitled to, there is a need to exercise responsibilities. And those responsibilities are that whilst enjoying those rights and freedoms, we must ensure that we do not prejudice the rights and freedoms of others or of public interest. So there was a question raised on doctors records, doctors' records being released into public domain without a doctor's authority. And HPCZ has guidelines on medical records, and we can say that medical records are the property of health facilities. And those health facilities have the responsibility to maintain patient confidentiality. But in so noting, a patient does have the right to a copy of their medical records. And so it largely depends on where the breach is. Is it the hospital? Is it an employee of the hospital that breached those leaked those medical records? Or is it the patient who, after receiving a copy of those medical records from the health facility, went and decided to share that information with whoever they so felt they needed to share it with? So in that case, the doctor would need to place a complaint. As HPC said, we come in when a complaint is received, we set up an investigation team, and that team then goes on to establish whether indeed there is a case of misconduct or not. I submit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Membe, for that very informative explanation. I also want to take the opportunity to recognize the presence of our president, our ZMA president, Dr. Crispin Moyo. Thank you so much for joining us. So I think there's several important points that have come out of Dr. Membe's statement. Hospital records are medical legal documents and should be treated as such. It needs to come from a complaint. Somebody needs to make a complaint to HPCZ for HPCZ to take action. And you are also people. You are people first before you're doctors. So you have your civil rights. I think that harkens back to something Twaambo said about finding love in the DMs. I think one of the things is that if you're doing it in a private capacity, that's one thing. But you should be very, very careful about combining business and pleasure. Further to that, as I'm looking for more questions in the chat box, Twaambo, do you have any thoughts about having separate social media accounts? Let's say I have my personal social media account as Chileshe, whereas I have, my social media brand presence as Dr. Mawula Bwalia, or the whatever the dancing doctor, or whatever the case may be.
Right. I think for some people that's more comfortable. I have the same. I have two separate Instagram accounts. One account is where I, show pictures of myself on vacation. I comment on my friends' pictures, and then I have the Confidence School Instagram account, which is my work. I am also on Twitter. Twitter is my private, it's my private space where I can comment on the news. I can comment on, creative work, things like that. But my professional work is Confidence School account. And I think that's okay to do. Where it becomes complicated is if then you have a huge social media presence, right? Then people start wondering if you're two different people. There are some profiles that you can set to private, like Instagram. You can have an account which is just for your friends and your family, and then you have a public persona that you do for your work. That's definitely possible. It's just up to you. If it becomes too much to maintain two different ones, then just go for your public one and then share all personal news with your friends on Telegram or WhatsApp. You don't have to share with your family and friends on social media. It could be simply on your phone. So it's okay to have two separate ones. It's okay to have several for your, for your work, like Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and then just use Instagram or TikTok for your personal laughs, because we need that release as well. So just find out what works for you. If you find that having more than one is too stressful, decide to just have the work one and see if that makes your world easier. So everything is allowed. You just need to find out what works for you.
Thank you so much.
Are we allowed to comment like this or just in the chat, because I'm driving, I can't write?
Please go ahead.
Okay, this is Dr. Wilbrod Mutale from Teledoctor and also the University of Zambia School of Medicine. So there's been, we have been running a social media platform and also a teledoctor app. And one of the concerns that the doctors on our platforms have raised, that I think because I joined late, you should comment on this, I apologize if you already commented, is that they are afraid to distinguish between advertising themselves and also selling a service. And so most of them, we have talked to them about producing a small video or some pictures about what they do, so that when they come, because people can only see them if they can present themselves in the social media form for them to know that they are on the app. So what is your advice on distinguishing between advertising a doctor and just making your presence known and offering a service? And also I want to hear from HPC, because we already wrote to them about this and we have not received any response. Over.
Okay, great. Great question. I'll jump right in. So a lot of the times when you are posting on social media as a doctor, you want to distinguish yourself from a particular institution depending on what kind of content you're posting online. So if you are like Dr. Babe, like I said, she's talking about skincare, she does not at all talk about, well, she is now posted at Levi Mwanawasa and skincare is the best at Levi Mwanawasa and that's what you must go and do. She is just talking, I'm a medical student, I love skincare and that's it. Now, in this example of the teledoctors, it is great that you want the doctors to share themselves, but there's a very thin line between advertising your services and talking about you as a doctor. You can say, my name is Dr. Waya, I practice so-and-so, these are my qualifications, and the work that I do at Teledoctor is this, and this. Without saying, Teledoctor is the best, you must always come to Teledoctor. We want the social media presence, we want to know who's there and what they do, and we want them to be able to say, if you have any concerns, please call this number so that they can go through the Teledoctor institution to get help. But if they're on Teledoctor and they're saying, my name is Dr. Waya, I'm with Teledoctor, and I'm the absolute best at Teledoctor, you can call me on my personal line, which is 097, etc. That is the fine line, in my opinion, that doctors shouldn't cross. But it would be great to hear from somebody at HPCZ, if they can jump in right now and let me know if I've steered anybody wrong or what their guidelines are for that.
Dr. Membe or Dr. Chibasa, are you available to take this question?
Yes. Yes, thank you for that. I would say, you know, the Professional Code of Ethics stipulates what is seen to be improper advertising and within what confines you must keep. So we're not saying that you cannot advertise yourself. You can advertise yourself, you can advertise the service that you offer. However, the mode of advertising is what needs to be controlled. It talks about refraining from self-promotion. So if you're an OBGYN, for example, you're not going to say, I'm Dr. Membe, the best OBGYN in Lusaka, because by saying best, then, you know, how are you going to qualify that adjective? So whilst you can promote yourself as an OBGYN, you cannot promote yourself as an OBGYN who is better than the next OBGYN. Why? Because then you will be unduly influencing the decision of a member of the public in seeking your services. You will have more pervasive influence than the next OBGYN, and that in line could disadvantage the next OBGYN. And that is what we are advising that you refrain from. So the Code of Ethics then also goes further to stipulate what information can be included in posters, flyers, and brochures that you issue. And it also talks about what you can include in print and electronic media. But we are cognizant that, you know, these guidelines were last reviewed in 2014, and we appreciate that ours is an ever-changing discipline, and so it is definitely on the cards to look at reviewing these documents to reflect current trends in medicine. I hope that helps. Thank you.
It does very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Mutale, sorry.
Thank you very much. This is very, very clear and very, very important. Thank you so much for that clarification. Over.
Thank you so much, both. And Dr. Membe, I'll just put you on the spot for a few more seconds. My first question is there an electronic copy of the Code of Ethics that can be circulated to our membership? And I think the second is, if people want to make submissions, if I want to defend my right to call myself the best doctor in Lusaka, and as you're reviewing the Code of Ethics and your guidelines, how do we make those submissions to your office? Yeah, if you can address those questions, that would be great.
Okay, on the first one, yes, I know that we do have professional code of ethics booklets available for sale at 50 kwacha each. What I don't know is whether we have an electronic copy. We might have. Let me get back to you after this meeting. And if I do have, then I will share it with the ZMA Secretariat, who can circulate it. I know we have made it a mandatory requirement for new doctors joining the HPCZ. And so those who recently registered with us all have a copy. But of course, for those of us who were registered several years ago, there may be need for us to reacquaint ourselves with the contents of this booklet, and I will get back to you on how you can access a copy. On the second one, Dr. Mabula, please repeat that question.
I was saying that if I have suggestions for things that you should include or change in the as you're editing the Code of Ethics and so on, how do I make those submissions, or how can our membership make those submissions?
Wonderful. The membership should make those submissions through the executive of ZMA. The process of reviewing these documents is a consultative process, and it is one that involves representation from all the registrable professions. So you will definitely be called upon to make those submissions, and it would be nice if the membership started making those submissions to you so that you can in turn present them to the council during the time of review.
Fantastic. I'm very aware that we only have 10 minutes left, so I'd like to try and get through as many questions as possible in that time. From Dr. Emilia Jumbe, how do you grow your social media presence, and what kind of posts in your experience make people interact more? I noticed that when we post on our page, Pendleton, a link which provides more information on a specific topic, most people don't click on the link, but then go ahead to ask questions about that topic. Twaambo?
Yeah, this reminds me of the one social media post which says, even if you tell people on social media, I'll be selling apples at 10 a.m. at Latitude Hotel, people will still ask you questions underneath and say, what are you selling? What time are you selling it? And where will you be? What I would say is, if you're going to grow your social media presence, you need to experiment and find out what works for you. So for a clinic like Pendleton, I think that's pediatrics, right? Lots of peds go over there. I would say include more child-friendly content. If you can, show a little bit more with parents' consent, or videos that you found on YouTube showing how different doctors, deal with children's conditions. You can talk about how you have made your facility more child-friendly. Show a little bit more of the facility, because then you have to put yourself in the shoes of the parents. If a parent comes to Pendleton to have their child treated, what is it that they're looking for? How do you make them feel safe? How is your process? How can you fast track the process? When I come in, what do I need? Like, give reminders of the things that you know people will need when they come to your facility. People asking more questions underneath the link that you've posted is going to continue happening. It doesn't mean that your posts are wrong. It just means that there are some people that are too lazy, or they simply don't have the talk time to click on your link, or they don't know how to click on a link. So I wouldn't let that phase you. But what I would say is, grow your social media presence by giving value. Think about the people that come to Pendleton. What do they want to know? If you want, do a little survey in Pendleton to find out, what would you like to see on social media? Simply ask people, what would you like to see more of? You might hear, we want to get to know the doctors. You go in that direction. We want to see your treatment rooms. You go in that direction. So it's okay to ask, and it's okay to experiment.
Thank you so much for that question. Dr. Oliver Kalma, I'm not sure if you're on the call, the HPCZ share. I noticed that quite a lot of people have questions about HPCZ and about, is the role of HPCZ only to protect the public and not the practitioner and so on. I see that people have an appetite to understand more about HPCZ's role, not just in social media, but for doctors and then also in social media. So Dr. Kaoma, if you can talk about some of the, just a minute to talk about some of the upcoming things that you have planned, I think this would be a good place to put that. Are you on the call still, Oliver?
Hello, am I audible to the?
You sure are. Go ahead.
All right, thank you so much, Twaambo. Brilliant presentation. Thank you, HPCZ presentation that is available. Yeah, so in line with what has happened today, the presentation, and looking at the various activities that have been going on, ranging from our rights as medical practitioners, often are the times that doctors tend to ask, what are my rights? What are my limitations in terms of practice? What is the scope? So what we realized as an executive is that going into practice, most people take the oath without actually understanding what is required of them. So it is on that background that in the coming weeks, we will be starting sessions or webinars such as this one to discuss the various rights, limitations, bordering on the code of ethics that Dr. Membe earlier alluded to. So we will go a little bit in depth to try and enlighten the profession on what is contained, what is expected of them. When are you considered to have breached your rights as a doctor, so that you do not face unnecessary litigation or end up finding yourself at odds with the Health Professions Council. So my appeal really is that we really take this or take time out of our busy schedule so that we can learn and be able to actually teach others as well. I think with that said, over to you, Chileshe.
Thanks so much for that, Oliver. So everyone, please be on the lookout for some educational content from HPCZ and the HPCZ share to just make sure everybody knows their rights. To add on to what Twaambo said in relation to Dr. Jumbe's question about how to increase social media engagement, if I may share my own personal experience, one of the things that I've found is that I'm more likely to click on something that has a picture. And I have read that look, something with a picture, people kind of like stop to see what it is, or a short video, short clip. And 6 seconds, 30 seconds doesn't seem like a long time, but Vine and TikTok have taught us that you can really do a lot. You can communicate a lot of information in that very short amount of time. So I think those are some of the things. And then if people are failing to kind of click for more information, maybe like putting more information just in the post. As Twaambo said, you'll still have people DMing you for the information that you put in the post. But yeah, I think just removing some of the friction in terms of if you notice that there's a challenge, not just for in terms of what Dr. Jumbe said, but if there's something that you're trying to do and you notice that people are not getting all the way to the end, if you have a 5-minute video and you see from your statistics, analytics that people are only going to 3 minutes, maybe try making 3-minute videos and see if you get better engagement, that kind of thing. So wrapping up to the end, this is 3:27, and I would like to wrap up right at 3:30. So I'm just going to very quickly say thank you to everyone who turned up for this, stayed till the end. It was longer than usual. 1 hour 30 instead of 1 hour. Please do send emails through the ZMA email address or through merb@zma.co.zm. That's merb.at@zma.co.zm with your ideas about what you'd like to hear about, what you'd like to see, who you'd like to talk to, so that we are bringing content that feels relevant to you. And the last thing that I'll say is that there's a lot of education, a lot of tips online about things that you can do, about how to grow your social media presence, about how to light yourself well, about common mistakes people might make. Don't have a window, bright light window behind you, because then you'll be dark in the video. So a lot of that stuff is on TikTok, on YouTube, on the internet. And yeah, just I think I can say from experience, I've been doing this webinar for about 5-6 months now, and something has gone wrong in every webinar. The last one, I think somebody mentioned even about it this morning. We hadn't paid our subscription, so I had to make people keep logging back in after 40 minutes. The one before that, I had internet and sound challenges. But you know, we're making something. Hopefully, it's meaningful to people. And so you just let yourself make those mistakes. It'll take a while. Some of those stories will become funny in the future. So, you know, give yourself grace as you're learning, and, you know, rely on your friends and so on. Twaambo, would you like to have the last word? Thank you so much for joining us. I think a lot of people really feel enriched by this. It's being recorded. It will be shared and disseminated. And yeah, thanks so much. Over to you, Twaambo. Thanks.
I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you do. I see you as a doctor. I see you as a human, a mother, a husband, a football player, a beauty enthusiast. And we want to know more about this. We want to know more about you. We want you to help us here in our country, Zambia, to understand how medicine works, different conditions. What are my treatment options? Because everything is just out there, and that's why people are scared to come to the facilities to get treatment. If you, the person that knows how I can be helped by coming to the facilities, or simply just by being a doctor online that shows me that you can be funny, or that you're smart, but then you also like to play football, or you're a fitness enthusiast. We want to see all of that. We're tired of watching the West. We see them all the time. We want you to do it in Nyanja, in Bemba, in Tonga. Show us. Social media is still free. While it's still free, put that content out there. I'm cheering you on. If I find any more people, I will follow you, write you sometime, and let you know that you're doing well. But just know, create, put it out there. Everything will be fine. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for coming, and thank you to everyone again. Please get in touch if you have any follow-up questions. We will do our best to address them. Twaambo, if you can, in the last minute, just put your handles in the chat box. I should have asked you to do this at the beginning, but better late than never. And yeah, I will be on for a couple more minutes in case anyone wants to copy and paste that. But otherwise, we're done. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks so much, everyone. Goodbye.